Hi guys, welcome back to another video on Next.js. In this particular video, I'm going to show you how to implement subscription-based payment with the help of Stripe. So this is the home page, which is public. This is the billing page. If I click on the billing page, you can see that I'm not able to navigate to that. Instead, it has taken me to the sign-in page, and this sign-in, sign-up, and authentication system, I have implemented it with the help of Clerk. It is fine if you have used something else in your application. The main purpose of this tutorial is to how to implement subscriptions with the help of Stripe. Okay, and on the backend side, I have used MongoDB, and whenever I'm going to log in with the help of Clerk, the user data is going to be stored in MongoDB, and this is the Clerk dashboard. It's going to simply show the logged in user details. And this is the simple Stripe dashboard. Let me refresh it. Currently I was just testing and it should not contain any customers now. Okay, so I've already implemented this Clerk authentication with the MongoDB and the Clerk. You can clone the repository from this particular URL. I'm going to give the URL of this repository and the description of this video. And I've already created a video on Clerk authentication in Next.js. Specifically, if you want to watch the video, you can go to my playlist, and this is the particular video which you can watch, or you can simply clone this code and you can start following up with me. But let me show you the simple demo of this subscription based payment with the help of Stripe in this particular application. First of all, let me log in. So I'm going to click on the login with the GitHub, authorize Clerk, and right now it's simply loading. Yeah, so now you can see that it has navigated me to this billing page, and initially it is going to show me you are not subscribed to the plan. Obviously I'm just logged in and I'm not subscribed to the plan, but if I go to this MongoDB, if I click on the refresh, it's going to show me this user is automatically created. This is a simple user table, and here you can see that this is the Clerk ID for reference for later on making up some relationships. And the main point is that it has two properties: is subscribed, initially it is false, and with this particular variable is subscribed is false, I'm actually detecting whether I need to show you are not subscribed or you are subscribed text over here. Okay, and then customer ID will be the Stripe customer ID, which is empty right now because I have not subscribed. Okay, so right now here, if I simply click on the subscribe, it's going to take me to the Stripe page. Currently you can see that here there is no customer right now. So here from this Stripe, you can see that it is showing this test mode. Okay, and test mode means that it is not going to accept the real payments. I'm just developing and we are only testing if payments are working fine or not. And don't get confused with this email ID. This is simply the project name. In the Stripe, we can configure the project name to anything we want, but the project name is my email ID, which I'm using right now. So I can put the card details. These are the dummy card details. These are not real. And this card detail can be used to test over payment system Stripe integration. Okay, so let me do that. So now if I click on the subscribe after putting up all these details, it's going to process, and if everything goes well, it's going to take me to the success page, which I have to configure in my project. Okay, which I have already done that. And for some reason, if something goes wrong, it's going to take me to the cancel page. So let's see what happens. So right now you can see that it's showing me this green tick, and it is going to take me to the success page. All right, so I'm navigated to this success page /payments/success, and first of all, let me go over here and let me click on this refresh, and let's see what happens. And right now you can see that this is subscribed has become true, and the customer ID has this particular customer ID, which is from the Stripe. Okay, it means that if I go to, let's go to the home page and let's go to the billing page, you can see that now it is showing that, hello Umair, welcome to the Clerk, you are subscribed to the plan. And so we are subscribed to the plan, and with the help of this particular variable, if is subscribed is true or customer ID exists, then what we can do is we can actually show something. We can allow user to access more features. Right now I'm just simply changing the text, but with this approach you can enable, disable anything of your application. Okay, and once we are subscribed, we will get the payment from the users, and we have got this particular clerk over here, the username. And if I click on the customers, let me refresh the customers, and I should see the customer over here, customer details. And before it gets loaded, I can click on edit payment details. So if I click on edit payments, it's going to take me to another page. And from this particular dashboard page, this is specific for this particular email ID who is trying to edit their payment details. And here I can click on send. For security reason, it's going to give me the link, and from the email ID I can click on a link and open up on the browser, and that link will show me the dashboard to actually edit my details. So let me click on that, and let me check my email if I got that. All right, so I've got that, and let me show you how does it look like. Let's see, login, and so this is the URL. Okay, now you can see that this is what it's showing me, and this is where I added all these details, and I can add more payment method. I can delete this card details, and I can simply cancel the subscription. And from the Stripe dashboard for this particular project, obviously someone have paid the $10 per month, and I'm not going to cancel the subscription quickly for that particular user. Instead, even if someone cancel the subscription, still he will be able to access the features of the web application 30 days from now on. You can see that your subscription renews on 28. It means that it will be automatically subscribed again with these card details if this is having some money. If not, then if user try to cancel the subscription from here, still user still be able to access the features by 28 February, because $10 is for 1 month. I'm not going to cancel quickly, but we can configure it from the Stripe dashboard. If someone cancels the subscription, we can quickly disable access to our website, and we can manually just initiate a refund to that particular customer. Okay, so this is the whole flow which I'm going to be showing you in this particular video, the Stripe specific things. But the authentication with Clerk, setting up the MongoDB, setting up the Clerk dashboard, this is something I've already done. You can follow up this particular tutorial, or you can clone this up. Okay, so, and obviously after cloning this up, you have to set up the env variables, and you have to set up the Clerk env variables and MongoDB, which I'm assuming you already know how to configure that. If not, you can follow up this particular video. But I'm hoping that you have already have set up your own project with the different sets of tools and authentication libraries. So let's start. And let's start off with this particular starter code, and I'm going to show you step by step to integrate Stripe subscription payments in our Next.js project. All right, so this is the project I've already cloned from that starter code repository, and it is already configured with the MongoDB and Clerk for authentication. So let me first of all, after you clone it, we need to install the dependencies by running the npm install command, and it's going to generate the node_modules folder and the package log file. Meanwhile, it's getting installed. Let me show you that I have deleted the users which are added over here, which I just showed you. And I've deleted the details of the users from here and deleted the customers as well. Although I'm using the same credentials for the MongoDB, the keys for this particular starter core as well, and the same Clerk keys as well. But I'm going to show you the Stripe configuration, how to create a new project inside the Stripe and start creating the secret keys, publishable keys, the price IDs, the customer portals, all from scratch for this Stripe. Okay, so let's go back, and now you can see that the node_modules folder is installed. Let me run npm run dev to see how does it look like. So here, let's go and open up the localhost :3000, and let's see how does it look like. So it's showing the loading from the layout.tsx file, and after it's going to show the loading. So this particular project, if I show you this env file, you might not see this file in the GitHub repository because we don't push these files because of security reasons. Okay, I expect you that you already have the authentication system configured in your project and database is already configured in your project. If not, you can follow up that Clerk authentication video in Next.js, which I have given the link of it in the description of this video, how to generate these keys for Clerk authentication, and how to generate this MongoDB URL and webhook for the Clerk to store the user data from the Clerk inside the MongoDB after user is signed up or login. Okay, the reason I'm not creating the same part again and again because it will take a lot of time, and I've already created videos on that, on this particular topic. Okay, so let's refresh the page. All right, now you can see that this is how it looks like. If I go to the client page, I can see that it's going to show me this particular Clerk login page. If I click on the login page, I can stick on that. All right, so now you can see that this is how currently it's looking like. Let me modify the code a bit according to our needs of Stripe. Okay, so I'm going to go into the app directory structure and click on this page. Currently it's being rendered from the server side. This is a client page which I'm going to change from client to the billing. Okay, inside this billing page, I'm going to add a lot of code to actually subscribe to the Stripe payment and edit subscribe payments and show the details over here according to if user is subscribed or not. But I'll come back to this file later on. For now, let's quickly render this particular home page from the client side. I want to show how to fetch the data from the client side as well using the Clerk. So let's do that. Const is loaded is signed in user from the use user. So let's bring that in from the Clerk. Yes. And below this, if it's loading, then I'm simply going to show the div and show the loading. If it's not loaded until then, I'm going to show the loader. So below this home page, I can actually write is signed in as user dot first name. All right, so let's go over here. Currently you can see it's showing this client page, so I need to go to the components navbar, and this is going to be the billing. And billing, since we have make the changes in the route, and I need to go to the middleware file as well. So currently I protected this client route since we have changed it to the billing, so I'm going to update it over here as well. So let's close this, let's close it. Let's go over here. Now you can see that it's showing the billing, and if I click on the billing, I will not be able to navigate to that because it's protected because of that middleware file which I just showed you. Okay, so let's close this one. Signed in as a user dot first name. Let's add the question mark to avoid any kind of errors. Okay, so let's close it, and I'm going to first try and log the user in. How does it look like? So let's click on the GitHub. Currently you can see that this particular database is empty and there is no user in the Clerk as well. Okay, so it's going to ask me, all right, so currently you can see that I'm in the billing page, and this is no more protected, and you can see that hello Umer, welcome to the Clerk. So let's go to the billing page. This is how it's looking like. It's client side rendered page, and hello first name, welcome to the Clerk. That's why I'm able to navigate to this particular page. All right, now what I need to do is I need to configure a Stripe in my project. First of all, in the terminal, I'm going to open up another terminal and I'm going to install npm install Stripe. So this is going to get installed, and inside this particular project, I'm going to create a new folder, and this is I'm going to call it lib. And inside this lib folder, I'm going to create stripe.ts. Okay, So inside it, let's initialize the Stripe. So Stripe from Stripe. So export const Stripe equals to the new Stripe, and inside it I'm going to add the Stripe key, which I yet need to create, and this is going to be of type string. And after that I need to add API version, and then the TypeScript is equals to true since we are using TypeScript, and I'm going to update it to this particular version. So right now you can see that it is giving us some kind of error. So let's select what it is recommending. So it is asking us to update the version to this one. Let's see. All right, so I think this is the updated version of Stripe. That is fine, and this has been installed as well. So let's close this up, and now you can see that I don't have this particular env variable Stripe secret key. So inside the Stripe, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to create a new account, and I'm going to name it Next.js subscription testing. Okay, you can select the regions. So the nearest region to me is India, so I'm gonna go with that. So let's click on create, and it's going to take some time. And this is the name of my project, the company. Imagine you are creating an e-commerce project, you might want to create a new company name in the customer. Okay, so it's going to take some time. So meanwhile, let's go over here, let's copy this, let's put it here, and equals to, and let's go over here, and first of all we need to click on this developers tab and click on the API keys. Make sure you create yours, don't use mine, because I will be deleting this project after this particular tutorial. Okay, so let's click on that and let's create a secret key inside it. All right, so before actually start writing some code, let me finish up all the configuration that we would require from Stripe to be added in the project. Okay, so we need to add the subscription based on. We can have a monthly subscription, yearly subscriptions, and we call these kinds of things in Stripe called products. Okay, product can be a yearly subscription, monthly subscription, or it can be a single product, whether you want to sell a single product, e-commerce product through your application. So here we need to create a new product. So let me call it monthly, and you can upload the images and add the description as well. So it's going to be the recurring one of let's click on the USD. So let's select the $10 is going to be the monthly. We can select the more monthly options if we want. So this is going to be recurring. Recurring means that after 1 month the payment will be automatically deducted from the card of the users. Okay, so this is the subscription based model, how it is works. So I'm going to click next and click on add product. Okay, so once that is being generated, I'm going to add the product ID over here. So this is going to be next public Stripe monthly underscore price underscore ID. Okay, so let's go over here. You can see that this product have been added. Let's click on that, and make sure you don't copy this product ID. We need to copy the price ID from here. Okay, so let's add that. So price ID is added, and we have added the Stripe secret key, and we need to create a Stripe customer portal as well. So let's quickly do that. So after user is subscribed, user want to update the details or cancel the subscription, this is something he will be doing. So this is called the customer portal. So let's click on that. Make sure you are in the same project which you have created. So this is the customer portal, and from here we need to create that or activate this particular customer portal. Okay, so it's currently loading. Meanwhile, Let's come over here, next public URL, let's add localhost colon 3000. This is something we will be needing to update after we deploy our application, because during deployment it won't remain localhost. Okay, and here we need to have next public underscore stripe underscore customer underscore portal equals to. Okay, so now let's go over here, activate test link. All right, so this is something we need to copy. It is copied. Let's place over here. All right, and now let's go down, and this is where we can configure this customer portal. For example, we can actually add the header, we can add the redirect links inside the customer portal if we want. Then this is the subscription. Customers can switch the plans, we can enable this. Currently we only have one plan, which is monthly. If you have more plans, monthly, yearly, and just like the monthly, I have created this price ID. For the monthly, you need to copy the price ID for the yearly product as well. You need to create a new product, and for that product you need to create a price ID for that, and this is where you need to add that. Then we can enable this particular plans. Okay, it's up to you. The most important thing is cancellation. When someone try to cancel the subscription, I don't want to cancel the access of web app quickly. I want to, because we have got the payment from him, which was for the whole month, and I want the access to the app for complete full month. Okay, that's why this is by default selected. All right, we can add the more payment methods if we want. We can set the customer information, which he can update. We can enable if someone wants to see all the invoices history which he have paid to us for. And once we have activated this customer portal, we need to click on save. It is by default automatically saved. All right, so we are done. Let's go to the developers, and we now only thing we will be needing to go is the webhooks, but this is not required right now. We need to configure project with Stripe, and once we configure it and try to test these out, we will come back to this webhooks section. Okay, so now let's go to the billing page, and let's add few buttons to subscribe. And when we'll click on that button, we need to open up that Stripe dashboard where we can enter the card details and then start processing the payments. Okay, but let's bring this on the next line quickly. So let's go over here. So what we can do is flex column, and gap is 4. Okay, all right, so it's looking good. Now let's go to the billing page, and let's open that up. This is the billing page, and now I'm going to design this a bit. But first of all, we have this actions, and we have this user action, and this action being used to create a new user inside the database. So I'm going to add another action to get specific details for a logged in user. So I can write export async function get user. I need to pass the user ID. Okay. All right, so I'm using Super Maven extensions. Let's try to hit tab and let's see what it provides. So first of all, we need to connect to the database, and then rather than find first, I'm going to write find one, which is provided by Mongoose. And then rather than putting up the ID, this ID I'm going to pass as the Clerk ID, because I showed you in the database. Let's click on refresh. All right, so user is created because I'm already logged in, and user is created here. This is the Clerk ID which I'm referring to. So let's come over here and find the user details with the help of that Clerk ID, user ID. Okay, and this is already configured. If I show you API, webhooks, Clerk, I can show you. You can watch my other video where I showed you how to implement authentication using Clerk in Next.js, and this is where I am putting the clerk ID with the logged in user ID, and it is being stored in the MongoDB database. Okay. Now we'll get the user, and then we are parsing and returning this data. All right, we are done with it. Let's go to the page.tsx for the billing page. And here we have this user. We don't need is loaded, but it's up to you if you want to add some other handlings. And let's create a hook, data hook, set user data, use state any. Let's bring the use state like this directly. Okay, rather than empty object, let's put it null. Okay, we will be needing to navigate to the other page, so let's bring in the use router from next/navigation. Okay, now let's write use effect, and inside the use effect I'm going to put it like this, and the dependencies I can put is signed in and the user if it is getting changed, and then inside it I can check if is signed in. Then I can put get user data async. So I've already created a function and I can use that function. I can find the clerk ID with the help of this user.id. Okay, so let's do that. Const user data equals to await get user. This is from actions, and user dot id or empty string. Okay, and then if it exists, then I can put set user data to this. Now inside the is signed in I can call this particular function. Okay, so now I don't need this actually, and inside this what we can do is we have to first we can show the user dot first name, which is already being shown. Let's see. Yes, hello Umair, welcome to the clerk. This is how we are fetching the first name. Okay, so after that we can actually get like this. So let's add user data. In fact, what I need to do is I'm gonna go inside the models, user models, and I need to put two things over here. Currently it is having clerk ID email, so I can put the is subscribed, and this is going to be of type boolean, and default is equal to be the false. And then I need to write the customer ID, which is going to be the Stripe customer ID. So this is going to be of type string, and the default is going to be an empty value. Okay, and to actually make it work, I need to go to the webhook, and here we need to actually put the default values. So is subscribed equals to false, and customer ID equals to the empty string. Okay, so let's close it, and let's close this model. Now I need to actually create this user again, so I can actually go and delete the previous user which is being created. So I can delete it from here. Let me do that, and from here I can delete this user as well. All right, so it has detected that there is no user exist in the clerk. Now I can click on, let me see. Yeah, I saved all the files. Let me refresh this page. Now let's click on the GitHub, log in with GitHub. Now I'm logged in. All right, so can't read properties of undefined. So I can actually add the question mark as well. Okay. All right, so now error is gone. Now let's go over here. Let's click on the refresh. Let's go to the user. And now you can see that it contains these values as well. Is subscribed false, and is customer ID equals to the empty string. All right, so it should also be containing that user inside the Clerk dashboard. Okay, so now I need to actually create the URL for the Stripe. So inside it, I can actually add a condition if user data question mark dot is subscribed, or user data question mark dot customer ID. So let me add this div actually inside it. Okay, and if it does not, then we can add another div like this. All right, so errors are gone. And inside this particular div, I'm going to show the edit payment details, because this condition is going to get true if we have already subscribed to the membership. We are a member of this product. Otherwise, we can simply show the subscribe button that you are not subscribed to the plan. So without actually wasting time and explaining you all the CSS and the Tailwind CSS classes, I'm simply going to paste the snippet which I have currently. Let's comment this out. So you can see that you are not subscribed to the plan. If I go over here, now you can see that, hello Mayor, welcome to the Clerk. You are not subscribed to the plan. Click on subscribe. Clicking on subscribe is not going to do anything, but this is the function which I yet need to create. So above this, inside this particular div, I need to add another div which I'm going to copy from my snippets. All right, so this is what I have added here. All right, and let's comment this out. It will not be loaded because this condition is not getting true, because we are not subscribed. Is subscribed value is false. Okay, and this is the message which I am showing based upon if the is subscribed is true, but is subscribed is true and customer ID is true, then I'm going to show you are subscribed to the plan. Otherwise, if is subscribed is not true, it's false, but the customer ID exists, then I would say that you have to update your subscription details. And the reason I'm doing here, because sometimes user may want to cancel the subscription later on, but still we want to keep the customer in our database. Okay, and in that case, we won't be deleting the customer ID from our database. Only this is subscribed is going to get false. So we will then be showing the edit details, because if the user with that particular email is have to renew their subscription or previously have cancelled the subscription, still we want the user to, rather than subscribe, we want them to edit their payment details. Means we are letting them to go to their own dashboard and resubscribe to their plan. Okay, because they are already existing in our database. All right, so now first let's handle this handle click subscription. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here, and here I can write handle click subscription equals to async. And first of all, I'm gonna check if user is not signed in. Is signed in, then I'm simply throwing the error throw new error user is not signed in. All right, otherwise I need to actually generate the URL to where I need to navigate to after clicking on this subscribe button. So to generate the URL, I need to write a server action or an API that is going to generate that particular URL. Okay, so to do that, just like I have added this user action.ts, I can create a new file, and this is going to be the stripe.action.ts. All right, so inside it, first of all, this is going to be run on the server side. In Next.js, we need to write use server, and then I'm going to import Stripe, and this is going to be the from, and I've already added that at lib Stripe. Okay, so then I'm going to create a function. This is going to be the subscribe equals to async, and this is going to be the user ID, email, and the price ID. Okay, and I will be creating the props just now. So let's create the props. So type props. This is going to be the user ID. Supermaven is not suggesting me anything. So let's save this file and let's reload this window so that it gets loaded. All right, it's loaded now. User ID string, email string, price ID string. Okay, and there has to be an equal sign after that. All right, so we are done with this. Now, first of all, I'm going to check if email ID or the price ID does not exist, and I'm simply, rather than return, let's throw an error, missing required params. Okay, so I need to pass it from the front end. And then let's add the try block. So after try, we need to catch it as well. So inside the try block, we need to actually write const. First of all, we need to check if existing customer exists in the Stripe dashboard or not. Okay, so I'm going to first of all check if existing customer equals to await stripe.customers.list. Then I'm going to write the email and then the limit. With the help of email, I'm fetching that existing customer. Okay, so next I'm going to write if customer ID equals to the existing customer dot data dot ID. But before that, let me check if data exists or not. If data dot length is greater than 0, then I'm simply returning the ID of it. Otherwise, I'm simply returning the null. Okay, because sometimes what happens is we actually format the database and the customer does not exist in our own database, but the customer exists in the database of the Stripe. So if multiple times users try to subscribe to our platform or application, then we don't want a single customer to be created multiple times in the Stripe dashboard. Even if cancel it, if user renews it, if user subscribe this month, but after 1 year he wants to subscribe again, we want to keep on checking if customer exists in the database or not. Database means in the Stripe dashboard, not our own database. Okay, because this is something which we are detecting from the Stripe. So now I'm checking if the customer ID does not exist. Okay, let's select, hit tab. Then I'm going to create a new customer in the Stripe. So await customer create, and I'm not going to put the metadata inside it. Okay, but we can do that as well if we want. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, because later on we might want to use it, that which user account of Clerk or the MongoDB database it belongs to. Then I'm going to put the customer ID with this. Okay, so now I'm going to create the URL for where user needs to navigate to. So Stripe .checkout.sessions.create, and Supermaven is suggesting me something. Let's select what it is suggesting, then return URL. Okay, now let's see. First of all, we need to pass the customer ID. With this customer ID, if it is null, then it's going to regenerate that. Otherwise, it is going to pass this ID over here. It's going to use the old customer ID and use it to generate the URL. Payment method card, we can put other payment methods like PayPal or other details, but right now let's go with the card. Line items, price ID, quantity, that is fine. Mod is going to be the subscription. We have a lot of more options like the billing, address collection is required. Okay, and then customer, if user wants to update the customer details, then we can put the name equals to the auto. and then address can be the auto as well. Okay. So after the payment is going to be successful or failed, this is where I want to navigate to. I showed you in the demo at the start of this video. So this, let me see if this is the URL exists in my env file. All right, so this is the name of that key. So let's put that in. And rather than success, I'm going to put it in the payment success and the payment success, but these routes does not exist right now in my project. Okay, so let's create both of these. I'm not going to waste too much time, so I'm just going to paste from my notes. So payments and then the success page.tsx, payment successful, and similar to the cancel, payment failed. All right, simple as that. And here I'm returning the URL. So from this page.tsx file, when user is going to click the subscribe button, I'm going to call this server action subscribe, and then it is going to return me this URL. And this is the URL where I need to navigate to see the Stripe. Okay, so right now, let's go over here, const URL, and then await subscribe from actions Stripe action. All right, and then inside it I'm going to pass the user ID. Then I need to pass the email. Clerk email is not going to be existing over here, so I need to use user question mark email addresses first index dot email address, otherwise I'm simply returning an empty. And then I need to put the price, so I've already added that in my env file. So this is the next public Stripe monthly price ID. Okay, so let's put that in. So this is going to be the process.env.this value. Okay, let's add exclamation mark that it is required. Okay, so this is the URL. Now we will get the URL. I can write if URL exists, then I'm going to push it to this. Otherwise, I can simply throw an error that failed to subscribe. Okay, now this is the function. I'm going to go down and I'm going to enable this line. Okay. All right, so now let's see if I click on this subscribe button, whether it takes us to that Stripe page or not. Click on subscribe. All right, so it is throwing an error, failed to subscribe. All right, there must be something wrong. Stripe invalid request, type Stripe invalid requests. Here you can see that it is showing the message not a valid URL, which is the success URL. Okay, so I think the problem is these URLs are not correct. So what it expects is, let's go to the env, and rather than localhost 3000, I need to put http/ like this. This is a valid URL. All right, so now let's go over here. Let's refresh the page. Let's click on the subscribe. Okay, now you can see that it has navigated us to that checkout, and this is the name of our company, test mod. This is fine. And let me tell you that we are in the test mode, and when we want to receive actual payments, then we want to disable test mode, and then we need to activate our account. Okay, but that's not the part of this tutorial, which you can do by entering your correct card details and bank details after activating your Stripe account. Okay, so now we are navigated to this. All right, so URL is being generated properly. Okay, so now let's try to put the details. So now what is going to happen is this is going to show the edit payment details after we are going to add this function. So what is going to happen is, let me create this function. So handle edit payment details. So inside it, we need to actually check the URL. So this URL, customer portal, it has to be the URL. So inside it, I need to check const URL equals to process.env.this, and if URL is properly exists, then I'm going to write router.push, and then URL plus I also want to append the email ID for that particular user who wants to update or edit their payment details. Okay, so to do that, we need to put the question mark pre-filled email. This is what the Stripe recommend us. So user portal email address. Okay, now if it does not exist, then throw error failed to edit payment details. All right, so right now it's going to work. Okay, so right now there is one thing left. When the payment is going to be successful, how the Stripe is going to update our database and make this is subscribe from false to true and put the customer ID inside it. Right now this is going to work fine, but we have added the check. Let me go back to the previous page, the actual application. All right, now you can see that these are going to be changed based upon these conditions. If user data is subscribed, is true or false, and customer ID exists or not. So all these conditions are varying on these things. But I'm gonna explain all these concepts with the help of webhooks, because whenever something is going to happen in Stripe, like the payment is going to be completed, subscription is going to be deleted, cancelled, invoices paid, refund is happening, then we can trigger an event. An event can be captured by the webhooks. Webhooks in simple words are called the APIs. That is going to be called by Stripe, and inside that API we are going to update the data in our database in MongoDB. And similar thing I did with the Clerk as well. After the user sign in and sign up in Clerk, Clerk also trigger an event of an API, and this is the API Clerk webhook / clerk / route.ts file, and this is going to be triggered. And in this particular event, which is going to be called by Clerk, I'm actually creating a new user and then storing that new user data in my MongoDB database. So similar thing I will do with the Stripe. Okay, but first of all, let's verify that if clicking on subscribe actually works, whether it takes us to the we need to put the address. Okay, so clicking on process, let's see if it goes to the success page or the cancel page. If it goes to the success page, that means our configurations are working fine. And after that, I'm going to show you how to trigger the webhook. Okay, all right, it's loading, and you can see that it has navigated to the payment / success, which is perfectly working fine. But if I come over here, click on refresh, no webhook is going to be triggered, and these details are not updated. It is remained false, and the customer ID is empty. And if I go to the billing, still you can see that it is still showing you are not subscribed, because we are not updating the subscription in our database. Okay, so before actually configuring the webhook in the Stripe dashboard, going to developers webhooks, let me first create a public API that can be accessed by the Stripe. Okay, so just like the Clerk, inside the webhooks, I'm going to create a new file, and I can name anything. I'm going to name it Stripe and then route.ts. Okay, so inside this route.ts file, I'm going to write a lot of code. Okay, so this is going to be the import Stripe and from lib Stripe, and then I will be needing the user, because I need to update the Mongoose database model for each subscribed property and the customer ID. And then I'm going to have headers as well. Okay, so these kinds of things I have read from the Stripe dashboard, from the Stripe documentation, how to implement it in Next.js. So from the headers, and then I will be needing the next response and the next request. What I would need is I would be needing the Stripe from Stripe, and I think I will be needing the revalidate path as well from next cache. Okay, so now after that, let's create one post API. So post next request. So let's add request here. So inside it, first of all, we need to get the body, which is going to be sent from the Stripe event. So this is going to be the await. Let's add an equal sign here. So await request dot text, and then let's add the signature for the Stripe. So request, we don't need it like this. It is going to be simply headers like this, and headers dot get. If you are using Next.js 15, I think I am using the previous version, because I'm using the old old repository for the Clerk implementation. If you are using latest version, you might want to write it await like this, like it. Okay, but in this version we don't need to do it like this. So headers dot get Stripe signature, make sure you spell it correctly as I'm writing, get, and then finally as string. Okay, so let event colon, and this is going to be the Stripe event. Let's create let data any, and let event type is going to be of type any for now. Okay, so let's add the try block, and let's create a webhook event. Okay, let's select it. So we have got this body signature, and after that we will be needing to have a catch block. So let's add error console dot error occurred in webhook 400. Okay, so we have got this body signature, and we will be needing this Stripe webhook secret. So let's first of all put that in. We will generate this value later on. We can test the webhook locally as well, using ngrok or provided by the Stripe port forwarding way. But the better way is to have a public URL. When we will be deploying our app on Vercel, we will have a public URL, and then we will generate that public webhook for that public URL of Vercel. Okay, so right now let's add some random value. Okay, so we will be having an event over here, and with the help of that event we can fetch few things. We can fetch data, event.data. We can type event type. Okay, so after that we can actually detect that event. So there can be a lot of event provided by Stripe. This event is going to be triggered when the payment is going to be successful. Okay, so we will come inside this if block, and I'm going to create a session const session equals to await Stripe checkout and retrieve data. This is going to be the first param, and the second param I'm going to add expand. I'm also going to write the line items. Okay, there seems to be an error. Stripe checkout sessions retrieve. Add question marks here, and I think this has to be within the object. Okay, we will get the session with the line items. There has to be an underscore over here. So let's add the customer ID from that session dot customer, and then I will be needing the customer equals to await Stripe customer ID, and this is going to be of type string. And let's bring in the price ID as well. So session dot line items, Let's select it. So inside the line items, we will be having the data. Okay. All right. And then finally, let's bring in the metadata equals to the event dot data dot object dot metadata. Okay. So I'm going to first of all detect, this is for only security purpose, if this price ID is matching the price ID that we have in the env file, then we are going to proceed further. So if price ID is not equals to process.price ID, then I'm simply going to return this response price ID does not match. Okay. Uh, Rather than like this, we can have next response. All right, let me verify it is actually matching with the key that I have here. Let's put that in. So once it is matching, I can check if the metadata exists. So if metadata exists, then I'm going to check user ID equals to the metadata.user ID. You know that while generating the URL from the Stripe actions, we actually added the metadata and put that user ID over here. Okay. So now user ID is here and const updated user equals to await find one and update. So I'm going to just select whatever the super maven is suggesting me. Okay, so but rather than this thing, we can add the clerk ID equals to the user ID. All right, so we don't need this set block. We can simply put is subscribe true and customer ID is the customer ID. Okay, so now after this, we can check if updated user ID not no user found, and then we can add console.log user updated successfully. Okay, so this is going to get triggered, but we can also check if user later on try to edit the payment details, then we will need to detect the customer dot subscription dot deleted event. But for now, we can test this out. So let's go outside this if block and I can write revalidate path, and let's do it like this, and layout. So all the routes within the layout is going to be revalidated. So return new next response webhook received with the status code 200. All right, I hope that this is going to work, but in order to test it in the local environment, we need to follow up the instructions provided by the Stripe. So let's go over here. You can see that there are two things: add an endpoint or test in local environment. So in order to test in local environment, I need to first log in to Stripe. So let's put that in. So Stripe login. Okay. So enter to open the browser. Yes, click on enter. And now it is taking me to this to verify if I am actually logged in on the Stripe. So here, after it gets verified, we need to copy this line. Okay. And let me see. All right. So allow access. All right. So access granted. You can see that it is showing the access granted. Now over here in the terminal, I need to paste that line, but this is not the path of my API route. Okay. The path of my API route is 3000 slash API slash webhooks slash Stripe. This is the path of this API. API slash webhooks slash Stripe. Okay, so let's hit enter. All right, it's getting ready. So this is the webhook secret which I need to copy. So let's copy that and let's put that in over here in the env file. And this is what I'm adding over here. I've added over here. Now I can actually test the webhook in my local environment. Okay. Now if I go over here and just click on cross, now let's refresh it. It should be showing that this particular system is actually listening to this webhook. So let's see whether it's being listened or not. All right, now you can see that the local listener, there is no public endpoint we have added, but local umer to local, this is where our API exists /API/webhook/stripe. All right, so this is being listened. Now what we need to do is let's refresh this page and now let's click on subscribe and let's see whether our database gets updated or not. So let's click on that. City, Melbourne, this processing. So it's getting processed. So whenever payment is going to be successful, keep watching this. You can see that this API is getting triggered. Okay, that's why it's showing 200. All right, let's see what happens. Let's go over here. Let's go down. Webhook Stripe is triggered. It is showing 400. Okay. Why is it showing 400? Payment success 200. So first of all, it showed 400 over here. Stripe test events. All right. So it got into the success page. Now let's go over here. Let's see if our DB got updated or not. User data. So it's still, it is showing is subscribe and the customer ID. Okay. Now we need to actually debug that. So first of all, I'm going to log the information because after deployment, it is very hard to debug that. So let's log the metadata. Let's log the customer. Let's add the customer ID. Let's add the price ID. What else we have here? I also want to see the updated user over here. Now let's see, let's go over here, let's refresh the page and let's click on the billing. It's not updated. Let's click on subscribe. Now we will see the console log outputs in this particular terminal. The first one. Let's put the dummy details for the cards. All right, so let's subscribe. Let's come here. All right, so in this terminal, I should see this information should be logged. All right, so this is logged and metadata exists. Metadata does not exist. So actually the problem is that if I go to this action, which is returning the URL, okay, this is an old error, just ignore it. Rather than actually putting the metadata over here while creating the customer, I need to add the metadata while creating the session over here. Okay. Now it's going to add the metadata user ID over here. Then it's going to detect it actually. So let's remove all these things and we will verify if it is going to actually detect that. But before that, let's go to, let me duplicate that. And I need to actually delete the customer. I want to see the whole flow again so that if session customer does not exist, then it's going to generate the customer inside the Stripe. And then after that, it's going to use that customer ID to actually create the URL for us. Okay. So this is the duplicate. Let's go to the customers and I'm going to delete this customer, which I've already generated. So let's delete that. All right, it's deleting. Meanwhile, let's go over here. Make sure you save all these files after making changes. And let's go to the billing section. Okay, so it's still deleting the customer. It takes some time. It needs to delete all the transactions and all these things for that. So let's refresh. Let's click on subscribe now, and let's go over here. Let's fill up the details. Let's click on subscribe. Let's come over here and let's see whether we see this information logged in. Alright, so our metadata exists, it contains the user ID, and now you can see that the user updated successfully is printed. Alright, so let's see what we have here. So this is the user details. Okay, so now this is the returned value from that. So is subscribed true, customer ID exists. Now let's go over here, let's refresh this MongoDB. All right, so this should contain, all right, so is subscribed is true and this customer ID is true as well. Awesome. Okay, so now let me go to the billing section. Now you can see that you are subscribed to the plan, and if I click on the edit details, it will take us to that URL for the customer portal which we generated. Obviously for verification we need to send the link, and after that we can navigate to that link for that, which we can check and test on the deployed URL. Now it's time to show you how we can deploy our application. So let me just remove all these logs. Okay, and let me stop that as well. So let's delete that. And in order to deploy our application, we will need to do so many things. So first of all, let me see if git remote -v. So we already have, because I cloned that repository from that this one. So I can go to my profile. In fact, let's go to the GitHub and let's create a new repository. Let's come here and I can write Next.js subscription Stripe. All right, so make it public and let's create the repository. First of all, I need to update this base URL. So in order to do that, let me copy the whole command, because I'm already having the remote added in my current repository. Rather than adding add, I need to change the URL. So set URL is going to be updated. Now let me verify by writing this. Now this new URL for the repository is added in this. So we can add, let's add git status. Okay, and then git add git commit -m initial commit. This is added. Now let's copy all these three commands and paste it over here, and the whole code is going to be deployed on our GitHub repository. All right, so you can see that it is now deployed. It is now pushed over here. Now we need to go to the vercel, and here I can import the new project. And this is the new thing which we need to import. Okay, one thing we need to do is we need to open up this and copy everything which is added in our env file, and let's put it in the environment variables. Let's paste that, and the only thing later we will need to update is this webhook secret and this next public URL. And what else we will need to update? Webhook secret. This webhook secret is for the Clerk. We have the Stripe secret key, don't need to change. So these two things we will need to update, but first we need to deploy our app, and then we need to see what is the URL of the deployed app. Okay, one thing which I want to tell you, that it might throw some typescripting errors, but before pushing the repository, what you can do is you can go over here in next config mjs file and add these 3 lines: TypeScript ignored build errors to true. Okay, if you have not done that, make sure you update the repository again and then import that project, or you can just redeploy it from here. So let's click on deploy. So now it's going to take some time and let's wait for it. Okay, and if you have not done that, I can show you that you can go to the some tabs and you can just redeploy that, which I can just explain you after it gets deployed. All right, so our app is deployed. Let's click on the continue to dashboard. And from here, we will get the URL. So this is the domain where it is deployed. So let's click on that. All right, so let's copy this URL. Okay, and you can see that it's running on this public URL. Now the vercel actually created Next.js. So whenever we are going to push the new changes in GitHub repository, vercel is automatically going to detect and automatically rebuilding our project. But uh, if you have updated these 3 lines and you got the type scripting errors, then you can go to the deployment, and after pushing that, it is automatically going to rebuild. But if not, you can just go to the same build and you can just click on redeploy and just click on redeploy from here. Okay, now one thing I need to do is I need to update that env variables. Let's go to the settings, env variables, and this is the next public URL. Click on added and let's put that in here. Let's click save. And what we have here, we need to update the Stripe webhook secret as well. Okay, so let's edit that. And this webhook secret was my local terminal which I generated. You remember that I just ran this command. Where is that? Okay, I ran the command port forward and then I update the URL, and that gave me that webhook secret. But now I need to create a public host endpoint. So add an endpoint. Okay, and then we have to add an endpoint. So let's add it, and it has to be /API/webhooks/Stripe, and which event I want to trigger with this. So I can select an event. So what are the events I have? So here I have this event, checkout session completed. So let's copy that. I need to select it. And then I forgot to write the deleted one. So deleted. So this has to be customer subscription deleted. All right, so these 2 events I would like to add here. I will add it in the code and push the code afterwards, but let's add the endpoint. Okay, once it is added, I can click on reveal secret, and let's copy this signing secret. Let's go to the vercel and let's update it over here. So this is the signing secret for that webhook. All right, so this has been updated. Now let's go to the deployment. Let's click on in fact, rather than redeploying it, let me quickly add that deleted event. Okay, so for that we can actually write else if customer subscription deleted. Okay, make sure you spell it exactly what I'm writing. So for the deleted, what I need to do is I need to first bring in the subscription, and this is going to, we can fetch it from the event.data.object, and then we need to add the customer ID, and this is going to be from subscription.customer, and then we can add the price ID, subscription items data 0.price ID, like this. And after that we can again check if price ID exists or not. All right, so it is suggesting us, Supermaven is suggesting to write this. So updated user customer ID, since the keys and values are same, we can just keep it same. Is subscribed false. We don't want to make the customer ID empty. Okay. The reason is that maybe in 6 months or 1 year, user wants to resubscribe. We just want let user rather than we will just let user to edit their payment details, okay, or renew their subscription or update their card details rather than creating a new customer, okay. But if they are logged in with the new customer, obviously they will need to newly subscribe over subscription. And after that we can add if updated user, uh, if it does not exist, then we can simply log console.error, no user found, customer ID. Okay, else let's write console.log user updated successfully. All right, so now before redeploying, let me just push the new changes and git push origin main. All right, so new changes are pushed. Let's refresh it. Now you can see that it has automatically detected the new changes are pushed in the GitHub repository, and it is now pushing it again. Okay, it is queued right now. Let's wait for it. All right, so now it's rebuilding, and we have already updated the env variables for this webhook. Now in this particular URL, we are going to test the whole feature. So let's wait for it. Before that, since we already have these users in the database, so let me delete everything that we have here. So let's drop from here. Let's delete, since I'll be using the same email ID. If I were to use the other email ID, I won't be doing that. So let's go over here inside the customer. Let's delete the customer from the Stripe as well. Okay, so let's see, currently it's ready. Let's click on that and let's go over here. All right, so now you can see that delete one customer. Let's refresh it. Let's see if it got deleted. So this is the URL which I'm going to test on. Okay, let's wait for it. So the customer is still here. Why didn't got deleted? Let's click on delete. I should have got the notification below. Maybe I switched the tab and it didn't got worked out. It takes some time because it has to manage all of the relationship with this particular customer, its transactions, it's all the history, all it. This is what I believe. That's why it takes too much time. Okay, but before coming into the Stripe, let's go over here. Let's click on login and let's click on the GitHub. All right, let's click on authorize Clerk. Okay, so we are authorized, and let's go over here. Let's refresh it whether we have the user data in the database or not. All right, so from the public URL, we have got this user added over here, and it should be added in the Clerk as well. Okay, yeah, it's added, and it should be deleted from this Stripe. Now we have logged in. If I click on billing, you can see that it's showing the hello Umair, welcome to Clerk. You are not subscribed to the plan. Okay, I just want to verify if the customer got deleted. Yes, it got deleted. Now let's click on the subscribe and let's see. All right, so we have got to this. Let's add some dummy details of the card and let's put these details. Let's click on subscribe, and I'm expecting it to take me to the success page from here. The success route which I created in the project. Okay, and after it got successful, I'm expecting it to update the database. User data is subscribed to true and should be adding the customer ID. Okay, all right, so it got into the payment successful, which is perfectly fine. And if I click on the refresh from here, okay, so it did not updated these values. Is subscribed to true. Let's click on that. And one thing, we can go over here in order to debug this. We can go and we can click on logs and we can see which part did not trigger. All right, so you can see that it is showing an error, gateway timeout. So this is a common error. What we can do is execution duration maximum 10 seconds. We can increase the duration. So actually I have tried it again and that error was gone. And what I did was actually go into the Next.js subscription Stripe, go to the settings, go to the functions, and here we can increase the default max duration. I have set it to 30, but it got executed within 12 seconds. So detect that how much maximum duration you need to set. But because if you are using the paid version of vercel, it might cost you a lot if you increase it. So I have set it 30 because I'm using the free version of vercel right now. So yeah, you can increase that. So after doing it, still I got an error, but it was a different error. So after actually updating that timeout, I actually redeployed the app and then tested that out. Okay, and then I got this error. So it says that the connection was not made, the timeout after 10 milliseconds. So what I can do is I can go to my db.ts and I can increase the connect timeout millisecond to 60,000. And also I can actually add these two properties as well. Okay, and then let's go over here inside the route.ts, and I have also added these two things. Import the connect, and then I've added this runtime to Node.js, and then before actually processing everything, I have added this await connect, which is coming in from DB, and this DB is actually making sure the Mongoose DB is being connected. So now I'm going to actually push it again after making these changes, and let's go to the deployments, and now it's rebuilding it. So let's wait for it. All right, so after making the changes in the code, I have actually tried this out, and payment got successful, and I checked the logs. Let me reload the logs again, and now you can see that this is the webhook got triggered by the Stripe and it got successful. There is no error showing over here. All right, and if I go to the database now and click on the refresh, I'm expecting to see the values are going to be updated. Is subscribed true. All right, so is subscribed is true and the customer ID is added. Now if I go to the billing section, it's taking some time. Let's refresh. All right, we should be adding a loader over here, but you can add the loader until this data is not fetched from DB. Then we can show the loader. Now you can see that you are subscribed to the plan. So on the public URL, we have successfully deployed our application. And if I click on this edit payment details, and now if I click on send, now I should be getting the email. Okay, so I've got that. Let me open up this URL over here. Okay, so now you can see that. Let's ignore these things because I've been testing a lot. You know that. And this is the recent one, cancel subscription. So here I can update the card details. I can cancel the subscription, and I can see all the history for my email. Actually, I was testing, that's why it is showing a lot of these details, but usually we won't be testing, doing a lot of customer checkout sessions for one email ID. Okay, one email will only be looking at one subscription, but if we have multiple plans, monthly, yearly, user might see multiple plans over here. Okay, and multiple subscriptions over here after every month. That is going to be automatically subscribed. All right, and if I click on the subscription, it won't trigger the delete webhook. If I go over here, you can see that we have added this delete. It won't delete that. The reason is that we have actually set the configuration that it should be cancelled and updated the database after 30 days from now. Okay. So yeah, let me know what do you think, and if you have learned something new in this video. Just to let you guys know that if you want any kind of development services, you can contact me on my LinkedIn. I've given the link of my LinkedIn profile in the description of this video, and I will be giving the links of the starter repositories which you can clone and follow along with me, and in this repository as well. And also I'll be giving the URL to this playlist, and this is the video which you would like to see if you want to know how to configure Clerk authentication in Next.js. Okay. So thank you so much for watching, guys. See you in the next video. I'll be creating more videos in Next.js, and this is the era of AI agents and building AI applications. So I'll be focusing on building AI applications, building AI agents in Next.js. So stay tuned, do subscribe my channel, like my video. Thank you so much for watching.